I'll let you know when. In 1971, topping the Billboard charts was a recording made by the television host Les Crane. Crane read the poem Desiderata, and his recording of it was embellished with the musical background and the gospel choir that belted out the refrain, "You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here." Anyone remember that? Oh, good. There's some. I shared it. I mean, I could not stop singing it the other day, and I shared it with Steve, and he says, "I've never heard that before." So I realized there are some people that may not have heard that. But I'm not surprised for its overnight 15 minutes of fame. It actually even won a Grammy Award, believe it or not. The recording of Desiderata captured the essence of the peace movement, the environmentalism, New Age mysticism, and the freedom to take personal responsibility that marked the late 1960s and the early 1970s. And back in 1972, I actually bought that record album, which included a parchment poster of the entire poem. Lucky me. I loved it. I never listened to any other song on that album except for that one, and I practically memorized the whole thing. Every morning as I was getting ready for school, I would listen to it as if it were my own life's credo, and I would belt out with gusto, "You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here." And I would just pump myself up for that day. And because my room was across the hall from my brother's room, who had to listen to that every day, it did not bode well for my Led Zeppelin listening brother. And then National Lampoon did a parody on the prose entitled Deteriorata, which featured the lines, "You are a fluke of the universe, you have no right to be here, and whether you hear it or not, the universe is laughing behind your back." And so my brother would yell across the hallway, "No, Cathy, you are not a child of the universe, you are a fluke of the universe." That was growing up with my big brother. And then when I was in my 20s, I would look back at those times and I'd think, that poem was kind of schmaltzy. Or was it? In 1987, Les Crane himself said that he couldn't listen to the recording of it without gagging. And then while Les gave voice to the poem, he was not the one that wrote it. Desiderata, which actually means desired things in Latin, was actually written in 1927 by philosopher and poet and attorney Max Ehrmann. It was written in 1927. You see, at the beginning of each year, I try to come up with a series, if you will, that might be the theme of this coming year. Last year we did the magic path of intuition for 2016. And 2016 was certainly a year for becoming more practiced with our inner intuitive abilities. So this week, as I was trying to figure out what I was going to be speaking about, I came upon this article. It was an interesting article speaking about this U.S. Army psychiatrist, Merrill Moore, that he wrote in 1942 to the poet Max Ehrmann, 15 years after it was written, that he used the Desiderata poem in his therapy work and in his psychiatry therapy work, and suggested that this poem should be bottled and sold as Dr. Ehrmann's magic soul medicine. Magic soul medicine. But what exactly is magic soul medicine? So let me read this poem to you and see if it sparks in your soul. So this is what it says. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery, but let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection, neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. That's the Desiderata. And it's a great credo to live by. After I reread this classic, I realized that there are many truths in here that are guidelines for masters. Therefore, today's lesson is the first of our New Year's series called 2017 Guidelines for a Master, which, by the way, means you, just in case you didn't think you were a master. So let me explain why I was drawn to this poem, and once again, for the new year. There are a couple of lines that are pertinent to today's lesson, and the first line that I want to mention is, if you compare yourself to others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. And then the other line is the big chorus, you are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And so as we forge into 2017 and we begin our goals and we begin our dreams, there is something that keeps us from expanding into more of who we are. Sometimes we have these dreams and we can't seem to just expand into these dreams. And so then we come to the idea of comparing. I call it the compare and despair syndrome. Because comparing is a victim mentality where you focus on what's lacking. And it always brings out a place of shame and guilt and ultimately despair. So usually in the beginning of each year, we have an intention to begin our goals and our dreams with gusto. And then we see that so-and-so may have a business or a book or an idea that is just like the idea that you had. So why bother? Somebody else is already doing that. The enthusiasm fizzles out, and even before you get started, you don't have the enthusiasm anymore. Or the intention of possibly getting a new job, and you have great excitement, but everyone is doing the same thing, and all the job openings are being snatched up by more qualified people. So why bother? So your zeal disappears. Or the intention of losing weight, only to compare yourself with those who have maybe lost a lot of weight immediately, and that has not been your experience. So why bother? Therefore, your passion fades away and you reach for the nearest donut. The idea of discounting yourself through comparison discounts your worth, and you fall short in your own eyes. That being said, being on this planet lends itself to comparing all the time. Have you noticed that? Our television media, our social media, our magazines, advertising, newspapers, they all say, if you are not like this person, or if you don't have this item, or if you don't have this kind of success or experience, then you do not measure up to the rest of society. In Matthew 22:18, there's a line where Jesus is talking to the Pharisees where they are comparing the act of giving to God or giving to Caesar, and he says, "You hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me in this kind of comparison?" And what is true about that statement is that comparing is a trap. This is why doing away with comparing is a guideline for a master, because we are being inundated all the time. A master must rise above the fray. And I realize that comparing just comes somewhat inherently on this planet. Therefore, take a moment, just imagine with me for a moment, that you are at a wedding reception. You don't really know anyone. You're seated with the boring people. No one is saying much, and if they do, it's just maybe about the weather, nothing real interesting, and maybe they're texting other people, not really looking at you. There's no connection whatsoever. And then you look over at the table next to you, and they're just having the time of their lives. To make matters worse, the table erupts with laughter. And now, wouldn't it be natural to think, I wish I were at that table? They're having such a better time, a much better time than I'm having. Why did they put me over here? I must not measure up to be seated over there. You see, humans typically are driven to compare. How many of you have ever been in somewhat of a same situation as that wedding situation? We all have at one time or another. We've been compared to maybe a group of people. I'll tell you, there's people that walk by here and they go, gosh, those are happy people. Maybe I should go in there. They compare themselves to the happy people in here. We go out, we go laughing. Have you ever noticed that? Whenever we have an experience, we tend to compare to others' experiences to our ideal image that we have only made up in our minds. It is only our personal perception and judgment of that situation. If you compare yourself with others, you can always find something greater than you are, and that can create a sense of inadequacy and incompetence. Or if you wish, you can always find someone that is worse off than you are, and that can create a sense of pride and arrogance. But the notion of comparing yourself to someone else in many cases doesn't work, and I'd like to explain the reason why. Many people perceive to have a high degree of similarity with other people, right? We tend to have this similarity. Now, obviously, there are higher dimensions. In the higher dimension, everything is one, and everything is an extension of the same source. And so in that context, yes, we are very similar. We're all related in that way. But let's talk about the physical earth plane dimension for a moment. I understand that you may think that you are similar, that we are, after all, human beings on this earth plane, that we have a high degree of similar things, and so because of those similarities, you may fall into the assumption that other things ought to be similar as well. If it works for them, then it must work for you. And in that very case, that could be true, but only in a most general case. When you compare as a standard, you can compare someone else as a standard toward success if you are using someone else's example to where you want to be. But the fact is this, that not only not only do you really have no business in comparing to anyone else, you actually cannot and don't have the capability of comparing your whole self, your whole being to anyone else. And this is why. When you start to compare to another person, if you are doing it in a negative way, and if you are finding yourself coming up short, they can do this and I can't, or they are so much better than me, and I can't seem to do that. Why am I lacking in this? And why am I not able to do that? And they're able to do this. Really should come down to the fundamental understanding that they are nothing, absolutely nothing like you. They are nothing like you, except where there may be the appearance of similarity, but it is only an appearance, and only your personal amplified definition and meaning that you have given to that appearance. Are you with me? It is the story of an appearance. You see, we have put, or you have put, an explanation and a description to something that you are seeing. And it is only your own perception. And each perception is very unique. So even when you create the idea of similarity, and you are creating similarity from your own unique perspective and assessment. So you are very unique. Does this make sense to you? You come from your own perception. Your similarity is not the same as anyone else's perspective of being similar. You are always unique. You are always different. And thus different enough that not only do you have no business in comparing, you actually have no ability to compare yourself to anyone else, because everyone else is completely and utterly unique. Everyone else is perceiving through their own lens. In Romans, it says, let's just go ahead and be what we were made to be, without enviously or pridefully comparing ourselves with each other or trying to be something that we aren't. Those are some pretty wise words. So let's just go ahead and be what we were uniquely made to be, glorious and exclusive in the eyes of God, just as we are, a child of God in whom God is so well pleased. You are a child of the universe. No less than the trees and the stars, you have a right to be here. The universe does not make unnecessary creations. It does not make mistakes. It does not say, well, I'm done. I'm just going to create a little bit more over here to the side just for a spare or something. The universe does not operate in that way. The universe is whole and complete, and get this, uniquely individualized in you. You are valid in the eyes of the universe. You are unique. No one has had your particular upbringing. No one has had your particular physical earth suit, if you will. No one knows all the people that you know. No one has had all the experiences that you have had. No one has led the exact same life that you have led. No one has had the same perceptions that you have had. No one has even had your unique thumbprint. You are unique. You are unmatched. You are valid. You are worthy. And there is no sense to compare. And so the next time you question your worth by comparing, the next time you question your validity, the next time you question your differences, realize that when you question those things, you are disagreeing with all that is. You are saying, I do not deserve to be who and what I am. Basically, you are saying to universal intelligence that it doesn't know what it is doing in creating you. Stop arguing with the universe. You uniquely exist, and there is nothing that you can do about it, ever. So cherish your uniqueness. Do not invalidate it. Do not devalue who you are. Again, this is a guideline for a master, especially when you are beginning the new year with new goals and new aspirations. A master is asking you, the master within you is asking you to go beyond the fray. Master your unique passage through life, especially when the world is trying to compare you to others and show you where you fall short. For it is a trap. Do not fall for it. Begin your goals and your dreams this year with infinite possibilities. And if you start your own business and there is something out there that seems similar out there, validate your own uniqueness rather than focusing on the perception of lack. If you're wanting to lose weight, don't devalue your own personal path to weight loss. Celebrate it. You are unique in your own journey. You are on your own journey, not someone else's. As it says in the Desiderata, beyond a wholesome discipline, meaning being a master. Being a master means being disciplined enough to catch yourself when you are being compared to the outer world. So beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. So take a moment. Let's take this in for a deeper understanding. I want you to just take a moment to celebrate your own uniqueness. God is individualized in you. Just feel that. The allness of God is individualized in you. And through your own perceptions, through your own upbringing, through your own experiences, you are completely unique. Celebrate your uniqueness. Take a moment, just say, thank you, God, within yourself for all that I have become in this now moment. Everything from your past has brought you to this incredible, unique you right now. Take a moment to go into that deep place of gratitude. Because of your uniqueness, you have a place in this universe. Your individualized energy right here, right now, means something to many people. Celebrate that. Expand into that. Accept that. God individualized in you as your unique, most wonderful self. And so, dear God, we give thanks for the gift of this uniqueness, for the gift of our own perceptions, for the gift of being individualized. And so it is. Amen.